looking at me. I'm looking back.
Hi you all, how are you? Welcome back to our channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Today I'm very proud to announce that we are starting a new series called the Women Empowerment Series, where we highlight and showcase women in different aspects and different fields in this country. Whether they are realtors, whether they are interior decorators, nurse, doctors, and so on and so forth. We are going to try to highlight one profession with every interview that we have. Ideally, we would have liked to shadow Alex here, whom I'll just introduce and see her work day. But since we are in COVID-19 times, we cannot do that right now. But first of all, let me introduce Alex to you and thank her for being here with us. Alex, hi. Thank you so much for coming for the interview. We really appreciate it. So, Alex, I have known Alex for about, I would say, 7-8 years now, and it has been such a wonderful pleasure knowing her. And when I got to know her, she was a teacher, an art teacher, which is how I was so impressed about. Oh my God, how creative is that? Tell us a little bit about your job earlier.
Well, I was an art teacher, and I love teaching. It's just there's no end to the fun and inspiration. It's a very hard job, hard job, and very taxing, I will say.
Yeah.
But I like to focus on very difficult subjects, which a lot of art teachers wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So
So Alex is now currently a realtor, and she made this move about a year back, which is people think, oh my God, what a change! Right in the middle of your career, you make a huge change. Why would you want to do that?
well, it was something that I've always been interested in. I have spent most of my life studying the Austin real estate market, and investing in it myself. And knowing that in the future, as now, I would still be focusing on investing on real estate. So it just kind of naturally became the time to make the official move.
Okay. And what are the educational qualifications which were the minimum to be eligible for the course that you went through?
Well, there really aren't. You have to be 18
Okay.
and either a naturalized citizen or a citizen, and that is about it. And of course, there are criminal background checks and so forth. That's not to take the course. So that's the minimum to actually take the course. You don't even have to have a high school diploma.
And what college courses did you go through? Because you said you were a teacher earlier.
Yes, well, I studied linguistics and art
That
in
must
college.
be really helpful.
So, yeah, I think that any higher level education can help you in frankly, regardless of whether it's something you've studied and you go into that field, I can say accumulatively throughout my life, all of the courses I took had some impact. So, yes, I think that definitely helps as a realtor as well.
And do you ever wish that you hadn't become an art teacher and just went straight to being a realtor?
Yes, every day now. Even though, although I will say, I constantly wish I'd started this earlier.
But it's never too late, right?
But it's never too late.
Yeah.
And I do wish I'd started it earlier, but will never regret the wonderful time I had being an art teacher.
So let me interject here that Alex is actually multilingual. She speaks Spanish, English, and what other languages do you speak?
Oh, I'm rusty these days. I used to speak Hindi and Malayalam, and I used to speak a bit of Tagalog and Black Harmony. But right now, I think I'm pretty much at my Spanish English without any practice. A little bit Italian, all sorts of stuff.
So how long was the course that you had to take for becoming a realtor?
Well, it really depends on how you take it. It's 180 hours.
Okay.
So it usually takes around 6 months to take it.
And when you took this course, which is for 6 months, were you completely dedicated to just studying for the course, or were you doing something else?
As a mother, a busy mother, and also I was still working as a teacher for part of it. Yes, you're still busy, but It depends on also the way you take it. If you
Yeah.
take it in class, of course, you're much more restricted. I did it online so that I listened to it while I'm driving. It helps me do it a little bit faster than if I had taken it completely.
Did you go to a specific college for this, or what was it?
There are a lot of, there are many schools
Okay.
and many resources. And I just got a recommendation.
So
from-
could you tell our viewers what they can look for when they're wanting to do this kind of a course? How would they enroll?
Oh, how they enroll? Well, frankly, as usual, let's just Google. I would get into Google, and you will see many courses pop up. But what's important is to find really the right one for you. As I said, there's several schools in town that obviously right now they don't do in class, but that generally do in class. There are also other formats where it's more audio, or there's others where it's video. And so I think you really have to think about how you learn best before you make this decision.
But is the course very expensive?
No, actually, mine was very reasonable, and I think the more in-person definitely cost more.
Okay.
But no, it was quite reasonable.
And what was like the hardest part of the course? Was it like the final exam, or was it studying, or like managing the hours between your teacher life and mom life, and having to study at the same time?
Well, that's kind of hard. I think that would probably be it. I mean, I found the test was not bad at all. But I don't have test anxiety, so that's something that I felt really prepared. But yes, I think the hardest is, since I wasn't in a classroom situation that dictates I go from this day to this day at this time. And I think the fact that it was audio was actually a little bit difficult for me. As an art teacher, I'm quite visual. And so I think that might have been the hardest for me.
I get that. Yeah.
So what are the subjects that you expected to study when you study for this Realtor's course?
Well, you study, it's called the Law of Agency, which is essentially talks about the difference between being an agent to a person, which would be a difference between a client and a customer. So the law of agency is also about fiduciary duty. Which the law of agency is something you find not only in real estate agents, right? But it's something that you find quite often in any kind of legal contracts and law. So there's that. We learn a lot about financing. Of course, we have to understand all the different types of government-backed loans, how to calculate everything.
Yeah.
From the smallest idea, from investing standpoints, all the way up to calculating how much my buyer will pay out of cost, potentially, to buy a home. You also learn about the history of real estate in the U.S. So you have a national section of your courses, which every realtor in the U.S. will be taking.
Yeah.
And then you have your Texas specific.
Oh, okay.
A lot of it is about fair housing. We have a lot we learn about that and the history of that as well. You even learn how from, back in the olden days, how you would measure property and how the different types of ways across the United States that we measure and denote property. You also learn a lot about contracts.
Okay.
Yes, a lot. Having, that considering almost everything we do is involving contracts, and you cannot make mistakes in contracts.
You mentioned agency earlier. How did you pick your agency, and which one you felt best for you to go into?
Well, I actually chose the broker who I've been using for years for my own investments, because I really wanted to focus on the investment side. And so that's how I chose.
And what would you give people advice when they're trying to pick their agency? Like,
well, I do find that I think the best thing to do is go with someone you know. I mean, maybe if you don't know the broker, but you know other agents who are in that agency.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. And when you're new, the minute you get your license, you are bombarded by hundreds of agencies, brokerages as they're called, who would like to bring you on, because in the end, remember, the broker will make money off of you, and so they want to grow their business as well. And so, each brokerage is very different, and depending on the type of stuff that you want to learn as well.
So, just to reiterate, Alexandra Lagmanson, is that how you pronounce
Lagmanson.
it? Lagmanson. Sorry.
It's the Swedish pronunciation.
Yeah, I mean, I always call her Alex. So I mean, she works currently in Texas, and she's a realtor here, based out of Austin, and she does really, really well for herself. And we're interviewing her. Once you get into a brokerage, what is the fear that you have? In terms of how do you get compensated for being a realtor?
Yes.
Are there any fears, or how do you really go around it?
Well, here's one drawback to the business, is that it is not a guaranteed income.
Yeah.
You really do not know if, when you list a house, if it'll be selling in the next month, if it'll be selling in the next year.
Yeah.
You don't know. You could work very, very, very hard with a client, and in the end, they don't want to buy anything. They decided just to wait, or maybe they've even chosen a different agent. There are many ways, though, to make the money, but yes, one of the biggest fears, I think, and one of the hardest things about it is not the guaranteed income.
Yeah.
And you get to pick your jobs. Like, if somebody presents the agency with a job, do the agents get to pick, oh, I want this job, or you just assign jobs, and you pick up jobs on your own?
That is completely on a brokerage or agency basis. Everyone works a little differently. In my brokerage, I choose my own. I can be referred once in a while, but generally everything that I do, I generate on my own. Yeah.
For a job, what are the average hours you work, like from 6 to 8, or?
Sometimes it'll be 6 a.m. to 10:30 at night. Other days, I'll be like, wow, I've got a little free time. But you don't have weekends. So unfortunately, weekends are very often the busiest times. So the idea of a 9-to-5 job is completely non-existent in the real estate.
So did you intern with this agency before you joined them? Did you go through an internship?
No, I did. At first, I did join another agency at first because I just wanted to try. I was a friend, and they were awesome. They were wonderful.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed being with them. But I didn't need. I had to pay much more of my commission.
Yes. Oh, okay. So, also on a case-to-case basis, it's not set by the government.
Not at all. It is completely up. Now there's usual prices and so forth.
Yeah.
But it is completely up to the individual brokerage, and you have to think about the fact that each individual brokerage, they have expenses. You say they have accounting staff and marketing staff and rent to pay, electricity. So depending on what they offer you as a realtor to be a part of their thing, well, that too will make it more expensive. I didn't need a lot of the extra stuff. I do my own marketing. I do my own accounting. I kind of do a lot of this myself, and I didn't really need the office space because I work from home. And so I was able to pare it down and go with a smaller brokerage that, frankly, didn't cost me as much.
Okay.
What are the most fun things and the least fun things about your job?
Okay. Most fun, it's silly, but I love meeting other realtors. I don't know. We have so much fun. I guess maybe we're social people. So whenever we talk, it's always a really fun conversation for me. Least favorite, that is leasing. Leasing and maybe leasing. I would say yes.
So you just mentioned a soft skill that you said, we are friendly people. What are the other soft skills that you would say are required for this job?
Well, you have to have a self-discipline to pick up the phone when it rings. You know, sometimes a lot of people, you'd like to be, oh, this is when I'm done. But you also have to learn when to let it go.
Yeah.
And when, you know, because you have to have a life, and you can get very stressful if you don't balance your work and life. So balancing is very important as well, I'd say.
So how would you say the balance works? Does your spouse have to pitch in more, or are you like most women in the world, doing the office job as well and taking care of the home as well?
Like most women in the world, because my husband works full time as well.
Yeah.
We, you know, it does. There are definitely times when, and he's quite respectful of what I do, and so he does. He will pitch in when I need it. But, you know, I have a very flexible schedule, so it really does help because I'm an early riser, so I'm up before everybody else getting stuff done, and I start working around 5:30 to 6 a.m. And then,
Oh wow.
but I shut down much earlier than the rest of the household. They're all staying up late, and I go to bed very early.
Have you had any like really difficult customers, and what can people do to make your job as a realtor easier when they're in the market?
Question. Well, you know, we'd like to say know what you want, but in my experience, you don't know what you want until you start shopping for it.
Yeah.
And the most important thing you can do is get your financing in order before, because you do not want that to slow things down.
So are sometimes people rude or difficult? I mean,
You know, sometimes other agents
oh
can
really?
be, you know, it's that belief that, oh, if they're tough and then it's better for negotiating.
Yeah.
So you run across a number of different negotiating tactics.
Yeah.
And it can be a very stressful job for some. And so I think
you're completely on the go all the time, right? Like just go. I remember when we were trying to buy a house with you, we saw so many apartments, and you were so willing and happy, and you made the whole experience so enjoyable for us. Like we enjoyed the apartment shopping experience, and this is not an expense that one takes very lightly. You know, you're talking about $300,000-$400,000, and you really take the money that you yourself spend very, very seriously. And so, I mean, it's a big decision. So getting somebody like you, where you're always happy and you suggested things that, oh, this could be good, and why don't you look at this, and looking at other aspects, that I think was a very enjoyable experience for us. So yeah, thank you for that.
Do you have any like unforgettable stories where like something happened so weird, out of the ordinary, or some like really funny stories you would like to share with the viewers?
Oh golly. Oh man, I hadn't thought about that. Oh, jeez. You know, every day is an interesting day because you meet so many people, and just every day I find I cannot think of any one because there's no 2 days that are alike. They're all a little bit strange, and all a little bit enjoyable, I must say.
From a woman's point of view, let me ask you a question. Do you ever fear for your safety when you're showing a house?
Yes.
Who turns up? Like, do you fear for that?
Yes, we do have a lot of. There are several things we do.
Okay.
To help with that. First off, when I go, I usually wear an iWatch.
Yeah.
I wear a watch so that I can press a button to call.
Yeah.
I will not show a house I will not go inside of a house with a stranger, a man that I don't know.
Yeah.
If someone wants to see a lease, maybe, I will open the door before they get there, and I will sit in my car and communicate with them. And then once they leave, I'll go and lock it back up. You know, nighttime too can be. Yeah. And we have several things we do to.
So do you vet your clients before you meet them?
You know, most of my clients really are word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so I tend to know where they're being referred, or I know them.
Yeah.
That's what most of this business is, word of mouth.
Yeah.
I don't. I know some agents get. They field, you know, thousands of inquiries.
Yeah.
And they do different types of, it's called farming.
Yeah.
And they pay for services to give them leads. And that's can sometimes be very fruitless.
Yeah, and risky too, right?
Yes, and very risky.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And so I tend to work with people that I do know, and I take particular precautions. You can do background checks. There's certain things you can
Yeah.
do, and it really just depends on the situation.
How do you assess a person in terms of when a person comes to say, I want to buy a house? How do you know the person's serious or is just trying to waste your time?
Oh, yeah. Well, I kind of feel that I like to help people. I
Yeah.
really do. Like,
Yeah.
I like people to be informed.
Yeah.
And so I have a habit of jumping in and giving them as much information as possible without any kind of commitment
Yeah.
from them at all. And yeah, sometimes they take that information and they move on.
Yeah.
But I do try to give them a little taste of what's in the market so they can kind of get an idea. And then
Yeah.
they can come back to me
Yeah.
when they have a more firm idea of what they want.
But there's no way to make a out and out assessment when a person talks to you to say, oh, he's just, or he or she's just, just shopping
Yeah.
just for the sake of
No,
shopping.
there is a lot of that, really. And
Okay.
yeah, there is. And I find that if they're willing to sign a contract with me,
Yeah.
they're not just asking questions or shopping. So
Yeah.
that's my second move is, well, you know what? I'm going to send you over a contract, and if I hear crickets after that, if I don't get a response, then I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're really just kind of looking around. They're not that interested.
And do you ever get tired of being a realtor? Because I know it can be very taxing on you.
Yeah, I miss my weekends sometimes, but you just kind of adjust it that way. Where maybe I'll have a completely slow Wednesday, and I can take it easy. But it is a little hard being on call. I feel like all the time. That gets a little tiring.
Have you ever regretted becoming a realtor?
No, not at all. I just said I wish I had just done it earlier. I could have done that and
Has
teach.
COVID impacted the way you function? And how has it impacted you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, the interesting thing about that is I think we've seen the entire industry change
Yeah.
due to it, just like so
Yeah.
many other industries. For one, it used to be a lot of hand delivering checks to title companies and hand delivering a check to a client, a seller for an option money. Now everything is PayPal or wire transfers online. You can even do closings completely online, as
Yeah,
you
I
know.
remember when we sold that land that we had, and you helped us sell again, and that was a wonderful experience. I have to say again. We did not actually go anywhere. Like we sat in our homes, and there was a Zoom call, and we did the entire thing on Zoom, and that was wonderful.
And trying to schedule people to be in an office space.
Yeah.
I mean, you think how limiting that is. Now, it really doesn't matter as long as the time frame is all
But
right.
do you think this is better? Better way of working?
I think that is better, no doubt. Another thing that's been very different is we do a lot of virtual showings now, which it has its good things and its bad things.
Yeah.
Because when you have investors from across the United States trying to invest in property here, it's nice that we can do more virtual showings, and there's less intrusion upon sometimes the occupants.
Yeah.
But then on that same chord, when you're selling properties with tenants in them, it can be extremely difficult during COVID, because you understand a lot of people wouldn't want strangers traipsing in and out of their house, and or flat out just refuse to do that.
So I wanted to ask you, I mean, since we were able to experience this for the first time with you, there was we did a 1031 exchange. Tell our viewers what that is.
Ah, yes. One of my favorite tools in my toolbox. Okay. If you have a property that is not your homestead means you own it. I mean, you live in it. That is so, they had a lot that they were not living on. That can be considered an investment property.
Yeah.
And when you sell one of these, you can avoid paying capital gains taxes and roll that money into another property.
Yeah.
And so this is what a lot of people don't understand 1031 exchanges, and they also don't understand that this is a really wonderful mechanism for our entire real estate economy to keep moving. So if we didn't have a 1031 exchange, if an investor had to pay capital gains, all these taxes every time they sold a property, well, might be less inclined to sell a property.
Yeah.
Therefore, that property, let's say it's a commercial, a retail space, well, that property might not get its full use. But if it can turn over into new hands, it could potentially bring more jobs to the area. There are a lot of really good reasons for it.
And what is the hardest part of your job? Like, you talked about what was the hardest part of the course. What is like the hardest part? Is it trying to find the houses?
I think a lot of realtors might agree. Sometimes it's doing a comparative market analysis, especially in this Austin market it's pretty crazy right now.
And that surprises me, in fact, when we were trying to buy this apartment and we would say, oh, let's buy this, and somebody would have already grabbed it,
Yes.
And I'm surprised that during this time of COVID where people are being more careful about going out, the market is booming.
Well, I think one thing we're seeing is a large influx of investors from other places. I'm seeing a lot from Chicago and California and the East Coast. Even Dallas, people are coming in because Austin is a hot market, and with the change because of COVID, and a lot of people now do not have to commute for work anymore. Or a lot of companies are realizing, hey, we don't have to have a huge headquarters and ship all of our move all of our workers in. We can let them stay where they're at.
Yeah, but with Apple being here, and there's another company coming here, this big
with Tesla.
With Tesla coming here,
and we have our own little Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
it's difficult. It's difficult to find good investment properties right now.
Yeah.
It's a seller's
properties
market.
Properties in general. I think it's tough now, right?
I'm seeing places that have been, seem like the market was so slow for years, just boom.
So this 1031 that we spoke about, we did it in the state of Texas itself. Is it even possible to do it from, say, California to Texas? Or
yes.
It is. So it's universally anywhere in America?
It is. It's a national tax law, essentially, is what it is.
And what do you give people advice for, like, if they're looking for a house? What is advice on finding a realtor, things like that?
That's a good question here. Listen, my advice, everyone's a little different. As a realtor, my job is to do it the way you want it, within legal and ethical bounds.
Yeah, of course.
I'm always going to uphold my own standards, and I'm going to be a nice, caring person, and I will treat everyone as the way I would like to be treated. I find that I like to know information, and I think a lot of people like to get that information. I would like a realtor who finds, hey, why don't you do a 1031 exchange? Who gives me this extra information free of charge?
Yeah, if it was not for you, we would not have come to know about it, and being able to save that much tax and invest for our children's future, we would not have been able to do that. So yeah, I think a knowledgeable realtor is a must-have, right?
Yes, and I think a lot of realtors focus on things. So if you want to buy a 50-acre ranch, you really need to find a realtor who. It's best to find a realtor who is familiar with what a 50-acre ranch would entail.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to area, it's really not that important. A lot of people think that this is my she knows this area. That's really not important.
Yeah.
Because we all have access to the exact same information.
MLS listing is called, right? Yeah.
I mean, so that doesn't matter at all. And what's important is that the type. So if you're doing an investment, find someone who really focuses on investments.
Yeah.
And it's there's no two. Everyone has their own special little need, I find.
And what are some pros and cons of your job?
Well, pros. I said I love meeting new people, and I love helping someone find a house. I enjoy it. I really do. And then cons are, you don't have that steady paycheck. You don't know when exactly you're going to get paid, and you do have those going on vacation is not very easy at all sometimes because
How would you manage that? Like I was thinking about it, and I'm like she
I've
already
been
has
trying
so
to
many.
do it for
Yeah.
months. And, there are ways. For instance, if I knew, I've got this time period, I'm doing this, and I try to schedule it
Yeah,
around times that it's okay for me to be away.
yeah,
So much is done virtually now; it's not so hard, and you can always work within your brokerage or another
Yeah.
realtor and go say, "Hey, would you please go open up this property for a client
Yeah.
of mine," and you give them a fee to help out.
Yeah.
And so, there's really, especially now in this virtual world, it's
yeah.
a lot easier than it used to be, I think.
Do you have any questions, Jan? No.
I just have one final question for you. What would you tell our viewers who are hoping to become realtors in the future?
What is the advice you
What
would
is
give to
the
these
key
people?
piece of advice? What is your major takeaway?
Well, once you're 18, you can do it, right? And so, if you're interested in this, go ahead and start young. And you don't have to. It doesn't have to be your full-time job all the time. I'm a full-time realtor, but just understanding how it works and so forth is interesting. But I don't know. I think it does have to be something you love because a lot of realtors.
I think you have to love to drive. You have to love meeting people, even
Yes.
if you think they're annoying.
I'm
You
so
have to-
impressed.
You have to learn to say yes and be very patient because people get very,
Yeah.
very. It's a scary thing. It's a very important thing.
I'm so impressed how you can look at so many houses because I remember just those 5 houses I looked at, they all blurred by the end of it. I'm like, which is the first one? Which is the
That
second
happens
one?
to all of us.
What
I
do
mean,
they
I'll
look
tell
like?
you what it is. It can be a blur. The street numbers in particular.
Yeah.
But
And the layouts all like merged together. And I'm
Yeah.
like, which one was the first one?
I think
and
you
the
start to
second one?
recognize patterns to some
Yeah.
degree as well. That kind of helps after a lot of experience.
Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with us. We really enjoyed it.
And I know our viewers will too. This has been extremely informative, and that is the purpose of the interview. This is for educational and information only, and people should do their research before they try to become realtors in their own states. Different states have different laws, so they should do
Yes.
their own research. And I would say it was wonderful talking to you today, and thank you so much for coming and spending time with us.
It was my pleasure.
So thank you so much for being with us here today. We appreciate you all. Thank you for taking the time to see our video. And we'll see you in the next one very soon.
Show
Bye.
Alex some love in the comments.
Yeah,
Bye.
we'll put her details in the links below. So if you are looking for a property in the Austin area, you can contact her. I'll leave her email in the link below, and you may contact her and give her some love. Thank you so much, and bye.
Bye.